Fair, spoiler-free reviews of the newest films. Vaughn on Movies.
Hey guys, I'm a little under the weather. I don't really have all the umph in me to do the 8 hours of post-production needed for one of my regular movie reviews, so I'm going to be doing this cheaper version. I expect you to just deal with it. Okay, so let's begin. Looking at source code. I went and I dragged myself to the theater anyways to go check this out, and I did in the process turn Australian. Jake Gyllenhaal plays a military officer. He's a helicopter pilot, and he's in this new experimental program they're calling source code. He's able to, with technology, they're able to get him into a train that was involved in a terrorist attack earlier that day. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. April Fools. I think what they did here was they've got this director, okay, and he doesn't have very many movies under his belt. His name's Duncan Jones. What they did was they said, hey, you know what? You made a little movie that people didn't really see called Moon. Why don't we bring you on board for a big film? And then, since we're the studio, we're going to boss you around and probably come up with all the ideas that made this a failure. Right now, I'm looking at like IMDb. It's got these high scores, and the only way to justify that is to explain that there's obviously a lot of stupid people out there. Source code betrays itself. It sets up this explanation. It goes a long ways in explaining stuff. And then it tries to go to this other route towards the end. And it's like, well, you know what? The studio just kind of barged in and said, you know what? That's too depressing. We're going to make up some BS, and you have to do that. That's the new way this movie's going to have to go. Source code was better the first time I saw it when it was called 12 Monkeys. And maybe even the time before that when it was Groundhog Day. Beyond the plot, there is other things that I object to. There's a subtext about how America is willing to torture so that we get results. So you got your whole Patriot Act thing here on a bigger level now. And I don't need to be getting into spoilers about how all that's involved. But if you see it, I think you will have the sense to know what I'm talking about. Additionally, the music is absolutely horrendous. It sounds like Judge Dredd. It's so overblown, and it's kind of got this sort of generic quality to it, like typical '90s films. They have such a high budget, and they're like doing this kind of like Waterworld kind of thing where they're just like, you know what, screw it, just slap a bunch of music in there. We don't really need to hear people talking so much. We can't be very creative, so just show some shots of a train and play loud score. From a cinematography standpoint, it's got that generic lacking of reds look that's very popular these days. I'm guessing that this movement came about because some psychologist said that people don't like red or some garbage. And so everybody's got this pasty bluish hue to them, something I never cared for. And there's only a few movies that get it to work right. And actually inside the, what I'll call the source code device, the movie looks best there. Unfortunately, when we're dealing with the alter reality where the captain goes back and he's aboard the train and he's trying to find a terrorist, everything looks the same as it does in the real world, so there's nothing to really differentiate the two, and it's hideous. Before I give out my final score, I have to give a shout out to Eat My Snarl. She's a friend of mine who is in the new Target commercial. You may recognize her. She walks down the street and she sees swimsuits on these mannequins, and she's all shocked by it. Anyhow, she answered the Pop Quiz Hotshot trivia question, If you want to win a shout out, follow me on Twitter at Vaughn on Movies. Then Monday, 6 p.m. Central Time, be the first to answer the trivia question. And I'm apologizing because this didn't turn out the way I typically like to do business over here. But I want to give you guys something. You know, I only work 1 day a week, and it's kind of unfortunate this sort of thing sprung up. 5 years of not being sick, I kind of thought it was impossible. But I guess this sort of thing happens when you're surrounded by sick people all the time. I'm going to give source code 2 stars out of 4. The reason why is there's some redeeming qualities in the way this is woven together, and it stays exciting. The special effects are not good. The music is worse, and the cinematography is lifeless. The subtext is not entirely needed, and the performances are okay for what they are. Michelle Monaghan, she keeps showing up in movies despite, I mean, I don't even understand what she's doing. Jake Gyllenhaal, he's like Bill Murray's character from Groundhog Day, except he doesn't have any arc to him. He's just such a generic fellow. He doesn't actually change through the movie. He doesn't go from being cynical to being lighthearted or anything. He's pretty much the same guy. Source Code is just a very typical film, and I'm going to go ahead and give everybody who worked on it the benefit of the doubt and claim that the studio intervened and made it into garbage. So, Source Code, 2 out of 4 stars. See you guys next time.